In this video, we are going to learn how to develop an adult women's bodice block. This block is meant for age 16 years and above. That means we are going to be dealing with an adult, fully mature figure. A bodice block is a representation of the upper body measurements, which are three-dimensional, onto a paper which is two-dimensional. It truly represents the body on a two-dimensional paper. For this, it is essential to take correct body measurements. Therefore, you must refer to the chapter on how to take correct body measurements. However, the measurements that we require here are bodice length, which we are taking standardly as 38 centimeters, highest shoulder point to pivot point or the highest bust point as 23 centimeters, a round bust, which is a round measurement, at 84 centimeters, round waist at 64 centimeters. These are the standard set of measurements that we require. However, the block can also be drafted for personal set of measurements. In that case, you could write all these measurements that are your personal measurements. For any block to fit well, we cannot just work with the set of measurements. There is something added to these measurements, and that is called ease, or in some books you might read it as livability allowance or even tolerance. It means that some extra measurement has been added to the basic set of round bust measurement so as to have the garment fit you well. Because when we wear something, we also breathe, and breathing makes our chest expand. When we bend, we need a little bit more allowance to be able to perform all the daily activities that we do. And ease just helps us get into the garment better and live better in that garment. Also, you see that I have written here dart at side seam. Now this block contains 3 darts, one at waist, one at side seam and one at the armhole. The side seam dart is going to consume some part of the side seam length only in the front because the dart is for the bust bulge. Therefore, the back seam line will become longer. Now, to have the seam line after the dart is stitched up equal to the back, it would be essential for us to add the dart width or the dart consumption to the front seam. Therefore, the bodice length of 38 centimeters will have an addition of 2 centimeter for the dart width. Therefore, we could say that the bodice length, we can write it as BL here, bodice length will be 38 plus 2 centimeters on the block. And the width will be, let us see how to arrive at a measurement of the width of our block that we are going to construct. Now there is a bit of understanding required over here. If we look at this as a cross section of the body at the bust level, then this is what the back is and this is what the front is. This is the bust mounts. If you look here, I have divided it into 4 quadrants. That means each side is 1/4, 1/4 and 1/4. We can write it as 1/4 as well. And one side is the left side and the other is the right side. We can easily assume that the left and right are mirror images of one another. Therefore, we can comfortably work only on one side, either left or right. We can comfortably work on any one side and the other side will become its mirror image. In this, we can say if our measurement was 84 centimeters and we added 6 centimeters of ease, that means this whole round measurement is equal to the whole round measurement, round bust, which also has 6 centimeters of ease, equals 90 centimeters. When we are going to work only on half, we would be working with 90 divided by 2, that means 45 centimeters. That means for the development of the bodice block, we only need to work on 45. We will work on the back area and we will work on the front area. So let's say we are working on the left side. We will use the left back and the left front. Now, this is the measurement which needs to be reflected at AB here. Like we had AC, which was bodice length 38 plus 2 centimeters. AB is going to be 45 centimeters. So AB is actually half of round bust plus 6 centimeters, which becomes actually half into 90 centimeters equals 45 centimeters. Now this block we know is 45 centimeters by 40 centimeters, where 40 is taken along AC and 45 is taken along AB. This particular block that we are doing for the file work, this should be on some reduction scale. I am taking it on 1:4 scale. So the scale, or I have reduced all measurements as 1:4. All real life measurements are going to be reduced for this block by 1/4, and so the whole block has become concise and smaller. Now we are going to make this block using a method called a block development method. There is a block division in this, under which we assume that all the body measurements, the lengths as well as the widths, are all proportionately related with one another. So there is a relationship between the bodice length and the armhole and the neck depth and the back depth. Also there is a relationship between the front and the back, and there is a relationship between the round bust measurement and the neck width measurement, and that is what we are going to see in our development now. So first thing what we are going to do is to divide our block widthwise, that means AB, and we will divide it into 6 equal portions. So to make 6 equal portions, we could first have the center half and then 3 portions on this side and 3 portions on this side. So any one side we can call the front and the other the back. So I'm calling this as the back. I'm writing CB and I'm writing CF. And CB would represent center back and CF would represent center front. Therefore, I have been able to identify one as front back and one as front. Here we can divide it. I have already marked. So we get the half line first and then we get all 6 divisions. Once we have divided it vertically, we can number these lines as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You could do the same up here as well. I'm going to just write a little away so that it doesn't interfere with our writing work earlier. The lines have been numbered. Now line number 3 represents the midpoint. Ideally, if this is center back and this is center front, then the midline should be the side seam or the side of the body. Now, if you look here at the diagram where I have taken the cross section of the body, you would see that the requirement in the back is lesser than the requirement in the front because of the bust mound. So literally speaking, half and half for back and half for front doesn't work really well. It requires that the front should be somewhat bigger than the back because the front has the bust mound in it. So what we need to understand is that we are going to create, because of the bust mound, a difference in the front and back. That is to say that line number 3, which is actually the half line, is not going to be the side seam now. The side seam is going to move away from line number 3. Where should it move? It should move towards the back. By moving towards the back, it will reduce the back width and it will increase the front width. So on a predetermined size of 1 centimeter, we move the back towards the back, the line number 3, which will now actually represent the side of the block. The side line, we cannot even call it the seam because it is not the seam as yet, but the side line. So I am just marking a broken line 1 centimeter away so that the front becomes now bigger and the back becomes smaller. Our line number 3 really has moved. I'm going to call this the side line. So I'll call it SL here. Next, we are going to learn how to divide the block for obtaining our armhole depth, neck depths, and the adjustment of length for the back. We will divide the block AC BD into half. I have already marked. So when we have divided AC into half and BD into half, we call this EF. Divide AE and BF into half and get GH. Again divide AG and BH into half to get IJ. Once again, this is the last time, divide AI and BJ into half to get KL. I hope it's dividing it correctly. Our divisions are all correct. While doing your practical work, it would be a good idea when you're doing it on full scale to actually cut A, B, C, D and fold it into half to check that all the angles that you have taken are correct. However, this is right now scale down work and is usually used as reference work or your file work. Now the line that we had moved by 1 centimeter towards the back has made the back shorter and front bigger. We could write it here that this is the front, this is the back, and we could write here that this is the front. Now the identification is complete. On each side, mark a grain line in the first block anywhere parallel to the center back or center front. Make sure you can use a scale width to get your parallel line parallel to CF and to CB. Our next job is to adjust the length at the back, because we had added 2 centimeters to the length which was only meant for front. That means back has to be adjusted by 2 centimeters so that the actual length at back becomes the original bodice length, which is 38 centimeters. If you can look carefully, it's ending at the new side line and not reaching the earlier one. You can name this line again. You could call this as C dash. Now this line C dash, I will call this S here, and this point we have already called SL, and this point we are calling S. So C dash S is forming the back waistline, and DSL is forming the front waistline. You can see that there is a +1 in front and -1 in the back. The next is now development of the necklines. To develop the necklines, on line AB, we are going to make the back neck here and the front neck here. To develop the neckline, starting from A, going towards line number 1, you go short, go in by 1 centimeter. How have you gone? In. In means towards center back, towards the center of the bodice. This is our highest shoulder point at neck now for the back. Similarly, in the front, from B, going towards intersection of line 5, go in. In means towards center front. So go in by 1 centimeter, going this way towards center front, 1 centimeter. This is highest shoulder point for front. The level AB is the highest shoulder level anyway, because this level is constant. The back armhole will be developed. Maybe we could do it with a pencil first so that no error comes. The back neckline, travels along line KL for some distance, and then it rises up smoothly like this. The front neckline starts from the new HSP, goes almost parallel to line 5 for some distance, then gradually curves down and merges. If you look from H, goes a short distance on line HG and merges comfortably into this, a smooth line. I'm going to ink it so that you can see it better. Back neckline and front neckline. The next development is that of the shoulder width and shoulder drop. You know the body, the shoulder, lowest shoulder point is lower than the higher shoulder point. So how to locate that on the bodice? Starting from the HSP at back, we have to locate the intersection of line KL with number 2. So here I marked the dot. Similarly for front, starting from HSP for front, we have to find the intersection of line LK with 4. I've marked the dot here. Now, using a scale, starting from HSP, going through the intersection of KL with 2, see what I'm doing? I'm going to extend this line by 2.5 centimeters. So, in the same line, I'm not going to use twice. I'm going to use the scale 2.5 centimeter. I'm working on 1/4 scale, so I'll just take it 0.6. .5 centimeters extended here from the intersection of KL with line number 2. Similarly for front, starting from higher shoulder point, passing through the intersection of line LK with division 4, division line 4, extended by how much? Same, because these two have to get joined to one another. It will be extended by the same 2.5 centimeters. Again, this is 2.5 centimeters. The third development now is that of the armholes. For the armhole, the intersection of EF with the new side line, we can put as a dot over here. This is our 0 point. You can call this the armpit point. This is our O point. Now rest we have to locate how these curves have to be formulated. Let us see what we should do. On line GH, intersection of 2, locate and mark a dot. Similarly, on intersection of HG with line number 4, identify this intersection. We should name these also. Let us name them. We have L. We could call this as M, and we could call this as N. We already have O here. We could call this P, and we could call this Q. Now from P, go out by 2 centimeters. Go out by 2 centimeters to P dash. From Q for the front, from Q, go out by 1 centimeter for the front armhole. Now we are just going to develop the armhole. I'll do it first with pencil. It's almost a straight line for the back, passing through P dash. And then from O, a deep curve rises up and joins this line. For the front, you could use a scale, but not lower than Q dash. And develop a deep curve starting from O and merging into this depth. I'm going to ink it now for you to be able to see better. If you look at the two curves, the back curve is very straight and merges here. Depth is only in this area. In front, it's going very deep and is much wider. It's because the front is bigger than the back. The next we have to locate are the side seams. The side seams we could either mark standardly as 2.5 centimeters, or if we have a body measurements, then we could arrive at a calculation as well. But let us, at this stage, while working with standard measurements, let us take it as standard 2.5 centimeter taper for the side seam. 2.5 centimeter over here would result for me as 0.6. So, for back waist line, we are going to measure 2.5 centimeters from S towards this side. For front, we are going to work on SLD line from SL towards the point D. The old line number 3 is redundant. We do not use that line. Join these two new points. You could call this as BS and you could call this as FS. Front side seam and back side seam. We join the front back side seam from O to BS, and we join for front side seam from O to FS. This distance of CC dash is going to be removed because it's not needed. It was only needed in the front. We are going to remove it and take it off. So I'm just drawing a scissor shape here for us to identify that we are going to cut it here. Our basic block without the darts is now ready. We could name this the block. This is the adult bodice block. women's bodice block, adult women's bodice block. The next are the dart calculations. Dart calculations are those calculations which are going to help us to find the width of the dart in front and back. The darts in front and back are different in width because front is wider and back is narrower. Back is narrower, front is wider. However, the calculations will have to be done as back and front separately. And I'm going to show it to you here. We'll term one side as front and one as back. What we need to understand is that our measurement of C-S was something and DSL was something else. And we have taken out 2.5 centimeters from here. So I am going to start the calculation right from the starting point. Our total measurement was 45 centimeters. 45 got divided into 2, so we had 2.5 on front and 22.5 in back. 22 in front, 22.5 in front, 22.5 in back. We added 1. From the back we took 1, we added it to the front. So we had plus 1 over here and we had minus 1 over here. And the resultant was 23.5 in front and 21.5 in the back. Now this was this measurement, D to SL and C dash to S. After this, we have already minused 2.5 centimeter for the side seam. We have already done that. So now we've come to 19 centimeters for back and 21 centimeters for front. Out of this, we will measure and minus 1/4 of the waist. Round waist was 64 centimeters. RW is 64 centimeters. We are working on 1/4 and 1/4. We will divide this by 4 and arrive at the figure of 16 centimeters. So out of each quadrant, 16 centimeters will have to be minused to get the waist width, and whatever is extra is going to be consumed in the darts. So out of this 21, I am going to minus 16, and out of this 9, I am going to minus 16. Resultant here is 5 centimeters. Resultant here is 3 centimeters. If you look carefully, this difference in the two darts is exactly the same as was the width of the block, because front was bigger than the back by 2 centimeters. This was minus 1 here, it was plus 1 here. So the resultant was 2 centimeters bigger in front, and overall in totality, the front has become 4 centimeters bigger than the back. Now our dart widths are 5 for front and 3 for back. These are the waist darts only. Now to locate the darts, we have to first find out the pivot point. Pivot point is the measurement that we had taken from the highest shoulder point to the highest point of the bust, which was 23 centimeters in standard, and it could be different for your own measurements. This measurement is located from the highest shoulder point level, HSP level, which is our line AB or BA, whatever we can call, and is located 1 centimeter away from line number 5. So we will draw one line 1 centimeter away from line number 5 for the dart placement. This is only for dart placement and pivot point placement. So the pivot point is 23 centimeters below line AB, and I am marking it here. This is our pivot point. So under the pivot point, I am going to make a solid line for my dart center line of the waist. The second dart is that of the side seam, for which we had taken 2 centimeters extra. This dart is located 10 centimeters below O, 10 cm, and since this is 1/4, I will mark it at 2.5. We'll mark the dart center line from the pivot point coming to the newly located 10 centimeter mark. The third dart is that in the armhole. It starts from the deepest part of the armhole and touches the pivot point here. You can locate the deepest point. Oops. For the back dart, the back waist dart is placed on line number 1 itself. It's not moved away, it is right here. And the apex of the dart or the ending of the dart is 2 centimeters above line EF. So I'm on 1/4 scale, I'm going 1/2 centimeter. This is the apex of the dart. Now the calculations that we have done are going to come into play over here. We knew the back dart is 3 centimeters, and for any dart formation, we know whatever is the dart consumption, overall dart consumption, it becomes 1/2 and 1/2 on both sides. So if you remember the dart formation, the dart has a center line. This is the apex, this is the base. Whatever is the width of the dart here, let's say this is the width of the dart here, then the dart leg, the 2 dart legs enclose or dispose of the total amount of consumption of a dart. So if this is total of 3 centimeters, then this is 1.5 centimeter and 1.5 centimeter. So the dart is 1.5 centimeter, 1.5 centimeter on either side of the center line. This is called the dart leg. Every dart has 2 dart legs, 1 and 2, center line, dart center line, dart apex and dart base. So now 3 centimeters of back has to be taken on either side of the dart line, which is line number 1. I'm going to darken this line so that it looks like the dart line. On either side of this, we have to take 1.5 centimeter and 1.5 centimeter. So I will take close to 4 mm. Join this 1 dart leg to the apex we have already located. For the front, the width requirement, dart width requirement was 5 centimeters. That means if this is 5 centimeter, then this is 2.5 and this is 2.5. So we are going to now take 2.5 here and 2.5 here. Remember, this is the dart line, not line number 5. The dart center line is 1 centimeter away. I am darkening it. And now we are going to join it. Now the apex of the darts, there are 2 types of darts. One is a designer dart, which the designers use while making their designs, patterns. And the second type of dart is the dressmaker dart. That is the dart which, when construction is being done or when machinist is stitching up a dress, then they use the dressmaker dart. For a designer dart, all designer darts can end at the apex. That means we will start from here and join it to the apex. For all pattern making work, starting point is with the designer dart only. The side seam, this was 2.5. I am still doing it in pencil, not inking it. This was 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter. Remember, we had 2 centimeters extra. We are still doing the designer dart, therefore it will reach the apex. It will reach the pivot point. The dart apex and pivot point will be same. And for the armhole dart, it's 0.75 and 0.75 on either side. So we will mark 0.75 and 0.75. All the 3 darts that I have done are the designer darts as yet. They are further used for design purposes. All dart manipulation work or design creation is done through designer darts. However, the pattern becomes complete only when it has been converted to a dressmaker dart. A dressmaker dart does not end at the pivot point. A dressmaker dart will end away from the pivot point, because you can see the bust is not a conical shape. It's not this shape. If we do the dart stitching till here, what we are going to get is a conical shape. The bust has a plateau here, a soft round mound, and so the darts must give a small plateau area over here. To achieve that, we end the side seam dart and the armhole dart 2.5 centimeters away from the pivot point. And the waist dart ends 1.5 centimeter away. So waist dart is 1.5 centimeter and side seam dart is 2.5 centimeter and armhole dart also is 2.5 centimeter away. That means the darts that we are now going to construct are ending on the dart apex, which is no longer the same as the pivot point. It is lower than the pivot point in case of waist dart, and it is away in case of the side seam dart and the armhole dart. When you're inking, you should take care, otherwise sometimes a smudging happens when you drag the scale. So it's a good idea to lift up the scale very carefully. Now I'm writing the measurements in pen here. This is 2.5 and 2.5. This was 1 and 1. This is 0.75 and 0.75. This was 2.5 here. So basically, if you look, there is a circle of 2.5 around here, except that the waist dart is ending at 1.5 centimeter from the apex. This is how the darts get made. This ideally should have an excellent fit for anybody falling within the measurements of standard set of measurements. However, if you were making this block for yourself, you may need to check the pivot point measurements. You may need to check whether this 1 plus 1 is sufficient for you. You may need to redo this and reassess this, and you may need to reassess the width of the shoulder. Sometimes with people with heavier bust or large bust would find that the shoulder measurement increases for them. In that case, we will add one more measurement over here, which is the across shoulder measurement. Across shoulder, which you will do only for personal measurements, and cross check with this. I hope this video has been able to help you understand the development of the bodice block. This is for your file work, that it has been reduced to with 1/4 size. In reality, when you work with a full size pattern, you are going to cut this up. You are going to cut up this area. This you are going to remove. You're going to remove this area on full scale, or even if you're working on half scale for further pattern developments, you're going to remove this area. All the darkened area you're going to remove. You're going to remove the excess at waist over here. You're going to remove the excess of the side seam, which we have taken as a shaping. So all these darkened areas you're going to start cutting from here. You will cut the back waist, you will go up to O. The pattern, you will go down here. This is already cut. You will start from front neckline. You will cut the shoulder, front shoulder, front armhole, back shoulder and back neckline. And thereby you will get piece number 1 and piece number 2. So you will get the front and back separately, 1 and 2. So one of the two pieces you will write on fold, because when you use the block, one side will have, either the front will have an opening, then the back is going to be on fold, or the back will have an opening and the front is going to be on fold. In the current scenario, we have planned the CB on fold and center front is going to have an opening. I hope you enjoy making this, and I hope you enjoy making one for yourself, because this bodice block can be used to convert your block into a sari blouse.